Now, some environmental groups are calling on the government to review the HS2 rail project in light of the pandemic. The high-speed line was signed off by Boris Johnson almost a year ago before travel ground to a halt as COVID hit the UK. Construction is currently underway and the first phase between London and Birmingham is due to open between 2029 and 2033. Well, let's join Gareth Dennis, a rail engineer and writer who joins us now from York. Thank you for joining us here on BBC News. Your thoughts then on HS2 and its future?
Yeah, so a key thing that's very poorly communicated with HS2 is not that it's this common idea that it's just for business travellers, when it kind of neglects the whole point of the line, which is that it's releasing a huge amount of capacity on the existing railway network for more commuters and more local travellers and more freight, of course. So the key thing that I'm hearing a lot about is the idea that the huge change in travel patterns is going to result from COVID. At the moment the railway is currently only about 15% utilised compared to this time in 2019. So that's kind of a dramatic drop. But this is temporary. We were seeing those numbers climbing as lockdown was lifting through 2020. The other thing, of course, is we look to our neighbours on the continent. They're ramping up the need for more capacity. The climate crisis means that we need to be moving more people away from roads and onto railways. HS2 is a fundamental part of growing that capacity. So road usage actually was higher peak road usage was higher last year than it was in the preceding year, despite lots of people being on furlough and working from home. So this idea that we need to reevaluate the need for more rail capacity seems very strange to me.
Environmentally, of course, the arguments are very much out there. We've seen what's happened at Euston and the protesters with the tunnel. Does that have a place when people are talking about strengthening those ties between North and South?
Well, absolutely, yeah. So HS2 has a fundamental part to play in rebalancing that kind of the north-south divide, as we call it. The way I like to put that in kind of practical terms from a transport perspective, anywhere within the M25, essentially, you turn up at a railway station and you don't really care about the timetable because within minutes a train turns up that gets you where you need to be. Pretty much everywhere outside of the M25, certainly in the kind of the periphery regions, the East Midlands particularly, actually, and you can wait at a kind of an intermediate station for maybe 2 hours until the train arrives that you need. So that, for me, is what the north-south divide looks like. HS2 can reverse that entirely by enabling more frequent trains to run on the existing railway network. So serving places like Stevenage or Market Harborough, some of these intermediate stations that perhaps don't have frequent services. You can be in a station very close to the centre of Manchester, Leeds, Birmingham, and you can have 14 trains whiz through without stopping at full speed, and maybe only one train at peak time, for like an hour in the morning when ideally you'd be getting a train to work. So that, for me, is what the north-south divide is all about in terms of transport in the UK.
Gareth, rail travel is not particularly affordable. To be really honest with you, there are many people, particularly during the pandemic, that have used the cars, and that pattern may well continue. So why go ahead with HS2 when, yes, you want to get people off the roads, but they won't be able to afford it?
So, again, it's a very good question. It's kind of confounded by the fact that the Treasury has made the very strange decision to continue to raise fares during the pandemic and also hasn't grasped that opportunity. We've had the biggest opportunity probably since the railway's inception to completely rethink how we do fares. And the government has also just cancelled its rollout of kind of like the Oyster card for the North. They've just cancelled that completely. So lots of stupid decisions being made at government level. But to answer the question, fares are driven by demand, essentially. So if you've got a system that's full, as the railways were before COVID happened, the railways that are full, then you can essentially raise the fares to kind of manage that demand so the trains don't get too overcrowded. And if we want to reduce fares, we need to increase capacity so we reduce overcrowding. HS2 is the way we do that. So HS2 is how we reduce fares on our railway network.
It's interesting. OK, Gareth Dennis, we'll leave it there for now. Thank you.
Thank you.